we are already an ostracized community. Like, we already have to claw our way out of the closet. Inside this community, we cannot have this division. It doesn't matter which letter of the alphabet mafia that you are. It's irrelevant. This is our tribe. Like, these are our people. And my partner and I laugh all the time because he's like, well, which letter are you? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I guess the L, I could be the Q. I'm probably the P. I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds like a conversation my wife and I had.
It's funny. But that idea that I have to be, that people have decided I have to pick which letter I am inside our community, it really breaks my heart.
That's the thing I've noticed too. It's like, so I was talking about, like, My Boss and Queerly Beloved, the book, where it's like the similar situation, what you and I and my wife and your partner are all going through. She was in a relationship with her then wife for 18 years, and then they transitioned, and they've been together since. It was a bumpy road, and they've gone through that.
Yeah.
But her husband and has kind of the same philosophy that I do. I don't mind or get offense that my wife identifies as a lesbian, because I'm secure in my masculinity, and I know that she's still like, I'm the exception to her rule, and that's beautiful to think of it. But also, if anything did unfortunately happen to me or us, I know she would never date a male. So like, I can't sit there and take away her identity for the sake of our relationship. To me, I kind of feel it's a little bit of a toxic masculinity thing. That we are all created, and I can't just say, why isn't just love fluid and our spirits be fluid? And that's more realistically what it is. If she wants to identify what she's identified before me, and if I die, or if we somehow just don't work, which that's not happening.
No, of course it's not. No.
Yeah, then I would expect her to continue being with women. So I would not just take it out away. I respect her and her life for that. And I think that's really what it boils down for me, is like, I just love her. She's unique and a beautiful, amazing person. And if somebody is in a relationship with somebody they love, they need to respect that. And that's
Absolutely. Well, and I think it's important for us to remember that trans folks, you, my partner, you didn't just become male.
Yeah.
You were born male inside a body that just doesn't fit that. So nobody just woke up one morning and said, oh my gosh, I think this would be fantastic to change my gender and go through all of this mess.
Hormones and
no apparent
puberty again.
Right. How awesome. Can I do that? Can I be ostracized? Can I have major dysphoria when I look in the mirror? Can I feel like a complete outcast? Can I feel odd? Like,
if somebody's going to try to kill me for coming out.
For real, like, legitimately, who chooses that? Well, you only choose that if that's who you are. Like, there isn't the only choice is the path of actually following through with it. But you were born male inside a body that just didn't fit that. My partner was born male inside a body that just didn't fit that. And so I think even inside the LGBTQ community, it's important that we watch our language and acknowledge constantly that this isn't something that one day I just woke up and decided, oh, I'm going to be man today. You've always been a male. You were born a male soul. You will always be that. You've just made a choice now to allow your body to match what your spirit has always been. And I don't think everybody gets that. Or they don't think they acknowledge it. Yeah.
I completely 100% agree with that. Especially, like, you look at pictures before, I was always kind of very androgynous. And even as a kid, there was a moments where I was wearing like some horrible clothing. You could just tell, like I was wearing like a lot of boys' clothes, men's clothes, hair was short, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was always in the sports, always in the stuff like that. And my dad's like the closest thing to a son that I'll ever get at the time. And then it's like, well, okay, now I actually have a son. It makes sense. So things like that just make sense to everybody. And I remember I didn't start technically puberty until I was like closer to 17. And I was devastated.
Oh, of course.
I was like, I thought I was going through life without having it. And I was like, yeah, awesome. And I remember my stepmom getting me tested, and they're like, yeah, Drew has a higher testosterone level than most. And now we know why.
Let's see. Why would that be? Yeah. I think we have. I think we have come. Well, I know we've come a long way, right? So I'm 52 years old. I have seen a lot already inside the LGBTQ community. Even in moments when I couldn't participate like I wanted to.
Yeah.
I've always had a foothold in it. I've always had gay friends. I've always had transgender friends. Like I've always had that. So I've seen progress, and we still have a long way to go
Yeah.
inside our community as well as educating outside our community, and especially when it comes to faith.
Hmm.
Whenever I run across somebody who says, "Well, God, God can't love me because that," I don't even hear necessarily what the second half of that sentence is, because my heart has broken at, "Well, God can't love me." Of course, God can love you.
Yeah. And then
Yeah,
there's families, like I know that my wife's family used religion against her to
yeah,
ostracize her, and that's not fair for
yeah.
her either. And that always tends to bring up toxic relationships with faith, and then people tend to lose their faith because of that, and they don't
Hmm.
understand how damaging people are for using something that's been twisted for their own agenda. And that
Yes.
it's very horrible, it's very sad, because I know a lot of people do really feel solace in having something that's out of their hands that they're loved.
Yeah, of course.
So
And that's why that's why I really like the chaplain aspect of my life, because I can really say to somebody, "Well, tell me what God is for you.
yeah.
Like, what is it? What does God look like to you?" Uh, and then let's talk about how you being part of the LGBTQ IAP community is irrelevant to the love of that being, and whatever that God is for you. I've tried really hard lately to stop saying God as He. Uh, because of course, coming from an evangelical Christian background, it's always God the Father. It's
Yeah.
always God the Father.
But if God is
And
lovely and almighty, there's the chance that God's good.
there's a huge right. So I've been trying really hard over the last several months to change my language around how I represent God. I want to represent God as a they, because I don't really believe God is gendered. Like, why would that being be gendered? Um, and in the hopes that that'll help people feel like, oh, okay. Because I'm a weird chaplain when it comes to.
I mean, one of my
I'm
one
not
of
just standard.
one of my friends and my grandfather did this too. They gave me a book about like bodies and stuff like that. And like I think the book's called "Why Is the Penis Shaped That Way?" And there's an insert in there that talks about how we're formed originally in the
Hmm.
womb, and it's like we all start off technically female. So
Yeah.
one of like a couple people I know on TikTok have done this too, and they're like, "Well, then clearly God has to be a woman because that's the original thing we start at." And I'm like, "God's good, God's good. Don't piss off everybody." So it's like,
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
Don't, let's
there's
not
so
swing the
many,
other way.
yeah. It's like we're not going one way, God. So, but if you
Yeah.
think
Yeah. Yeah.
about it, if you think about it, if God creates people in their own image, then God would
Yeah.
know how to create women as well as men, because their image is female and male. So,
Of course. Well, and if you look even at Genesis, in the creation stories, God says we created humanity in our image,
mhm.
not in His image, in our image. And so, however you interpret Scripture, I'm not a black and white Bible reader. Like, I think you have to look at context. You have to look at culture. You have to look at when was it written, who wrote it, what were they do, all of that. So I tend to take the Bible as a little bit more, not really metaphorical, but some of it. How do you know? Like,
Yeah,
you
it's
weren't
been
in the
so long
garden with
ago.
Adam and Eve, right? Like, I mean, the Genesis stories, there are two stories in Genesis. They were written 400 and 800 years apart. There are two creation stories. So when you start to look at that and you go, yeah, God said He created, they created us in their image. And so that has to be really truly non-binary or all binary.
Yeah, either non-binary or all binary is perfect.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely love that. If you were have any advice for people who are struggling with their faith and being a part of the LGBT community, what would it be?
What I would say is find what you believe the most to be true for you about who God is. Like what does that look like? If you sat at your core with all external influences going away, what do you actually believe about God? Or if you can't find that, what do you want to believe about God? Like what do you want that to look like? And when you find that, then believe that is your truth and find the people that believe that same way. Because there are lots of us who are either part of the community or allies to the community who know beyond a shadow of a doubt that God is love. That is the nature of God is love. And that love is an unconditional, I don't care. I'm going to esteem you. I'm going to build you up. I created you. You are my beloved. And it is hard to deconstruct all of those lies. There's no doubt about it. Like having done it and still honestly in the process of doing it, because I think it takes years to break down the garbage and find the good. It's just find it. Find what it is for you, and then do the research that you may need to do to find the people that align with that, because they're out there. 100%. Yeah.
That's definitely true. So last but not least, if anybody would like to know more information about you or how to follow you on your platforms, what would they be looking for?
So in TikTok and Instagram, I'm Chaplain KellyAnn 32620. And and I love both of those platforms. I do much more on TikTok just because it's a little more lighthearted sometimes, and I can be a little sillier. But everything that's on TikTok ends up on Instagram. And so both of those places, absolutely.
And as always, I will be putting the information on how to reach KellyAnn in the show notes. And until next time, live with purpose and live your truth. Thank you, everybody.
Love it.
Thank you again for listening to Transforming with Drew. If you like this episode or any other episodes, please share them with your friends and family members. Until next time.